Do men have thicker skin than women?
What?
In 3, 2, 1,
Wait.
show.
That's a no. That's a no for me.
The answer is actually yes.
No!
Men's skin contains more collagen. It is 20.
Oh, you're thinking of actual skin.
25%.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning. Welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Anthony, Glenn, and Gordon, and today we're talking I Should Have Known That. There's two different variants of this game, one where you get trivia questions you ought to know, and one where you get yes or no trivia questions you ought to know. Let's get into it. Welcome to I Should Have Known That, a pair of simple and delightful games about trivia that you really ought to know. So what's the difference between the two games? Well, I Should Have Known That in the green box here is a game about trivia questions where you're going to get asked a question and then you have to say the answer. And I Should Have Known That yes or no is a game where everybody's going to get asked the same question and then hold up a card to signify whether they think the answer is yes or no. Both of the games consist of just a deck of trivia cards, and cleverly, the entire rules for the game fit inside the cover of the box. Now, both games have the same basic structure, where every player at the table is going to start with the same positive number of points. We started our games with 20 points, and the idea is that as you're answering these questions that you really ought to know, there's no way to gain more points. You ought to know these. You don't get any reward for that. But if you don't know the correct answer and you answer incorrectly, you lose some of your points. In fact, the more obvious the question, the more points you'll lose if you get it wrong. So let's start with I Should Have Known That, the original here. Each round in this game, one player is going to draw the top card of the deck and they will be our reader for the round. The reader is going to start by turning to the player on their left and asking them the top question on their card. In this case, what is the name of a course that combines seafood and a red meat? That player is then going to give their answer and we're going to see if they're correct. So in this case, the answer was surf and turf. And on the back here, I've got my answer as well as the number of points that will be subtracted from that player's score if they answer incorrectly. Surf and turf was worth -7 if they didn't get it right. Then the reader is going to turn to the next player around the table and ask them the second question and carry on that way until they've gone through all 4 questions on their card. After that, the player to the reader's left is going to become the new reader and we're going to carry on from there. In the yes and no edition, we'll still have a reader for each round who's going to read all 4 of these questions, but instead of asking a specific player these questions, they're going to announce them to the table. So for instance, does Luna mean moon in Spanish? And in this game, each player at the table is going to have one of these yes or no cards that will allow them to answer yes or no. So after we've asked the question, the reader is going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then everybody's going to show their answer and try to get it correct. Checking on answers works exactly the same way as in the original, so in this case the answer was yes. Everybody who answered yes is safe. Everybody who answered no subtracts 2 points, as it says right here. So that is the main difference between the two, is that in the yes or no version, everybody's answering every question and multiple people can lose points on any given question. Both of the games end in the same way. As soon as a player gets to 0 points, then we're going to see who still has the most points remaining, and they're our winner. Alright, so we just finished playing both of these. We decided to play both and kind of compare and contrast the two games, and they're both awesome in their own right, but there's a couple things that are worth noting about them. Both of our games took about 30 minutes to play. You can set about how long the games are going to take by giving yourselves different amounts of points to start each game. That means it's going to take longer for people to slowly dwindle away those points, or quickly dwindle away those points in my case.
Overall, I had a really good time with the game in general. I am very bad at trivia games, just in general. But a lot of the questions that we're getting asked here, it has that compartmental knowledge of, you probably have heard of this thing once or twice, or you've seen that thing on an advertisement, or have you watched this random TV show occasionally? So even just from observing generic things that happen in your everyday life, you can acquire the answers to a lot of these questions. So
all right, Glenn, what does the acronym DIY stand for?
Do it yourself.
Do I have to look? Yeah. All right. Well, it would have been 6 points if you had gotten it correct.
Can you see the toes of Statue of Liberty?
Oh man, I was just there.
From here.
What did you see?
Oh,
From me.
And show. Yes, you can.
Did we do it? Good job, everybody.
it.
Yeah, it feels like if you're at like pub trivia or something like that, like everything in the deck for the most part sticks in that like tier 1, the easy questions you get at the beginning of the night, and it hasn't moved on to the really intense, super deep cuts yet. But because of that, it makes you question everything you know about everyday life. What color is on the top of a rainbow on the outside? I suddenly have to really think about this, and I am panicking about getting it wrong because I know it's going to cost me even more points if I do get it wrong because it's such an obvious answer.
Andy, what color is the uppermost part of a rainbow?
gotta be red.
That is correct, yes. You do not lose 6 points.
So both of these games use the mechanic of starting from a number of points and dwindling down. That means that while functionally getting a question correct means you have saved those points, it feels like you're just safe. Like what you are really trying to do is not get the wrong answer, which is a different feeling than getting the right answer. And so this feeling of getting those penalty points and dwindling yourself down as opposed to getting the questions correct and building your points up makes for a very different game. I really loved it. Because now the two of you could be kind of duking it out to try and, again, not lose points to be the winner when one of us ran out. But it was really this feeling
we wanted to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're never at the bottom of the ladder and just can't catch up. You're at the bottom of the ladder holding on for dear life, and it still matters that you're not the person who drops to 0. So, yeah.
I also will say I like the staggering of the points based on how hard the question is, because it was always a feel bad I remember when I was younger, I used to play a lot of Trivial Pursuit and games like that, and you'd get us a question like, in 1864, what was the temperature on July 8th in Belgium? And you're like, you get that one, and then someone else will get like what color rhymes with Urple? I'm like, how do you get a piece of pie for that? So it's that staggering of points. So yes, in this, if you miss a super easy one, you lose a lot of points. But then when you get that hard one, it's like, I don't know this. And it's like, well, you lose 2. I'm like, well, okay, I can lose 2. That's fine.
Glenn, what is the name of the set of structures of the brain that control emotions? The set of structures of the brain that control emotions.
Set of structures?
I've heard these words before. I'll tell you that. I've heard these words before.
I don't know. Your hypothalamus, which isn't the answer, but
Perfectly fine.
I'd say
Yes, you
something.
only lose 2 points for not knowing the limbic system. All right, I think that does it for I Should Have Known That. We had a really good time with this one. We hope you had fun watching. If this helped you decide between the two, that's awesome. But frankly, we really loved playing both, one right after the other, because they played to different players' strengths. So if you ended up picking up both, we wouldn't blame you. As usual, if you hit that like button, we'll really appreciate that. Subscribe if you want to see our new videos every single week when we post them. Check out our online store. We've got I Should Have Known That in there, and a bunch of other really cool games from Hygge, which is the publisher of this series. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.